Hey, it's Sam from Sugar Spun Run, and today we are making sourdough chocolate chip muffins. Today's recipe is obviously for those of you who have sourdough starter. If you're someone who doesn't have it, I highly recommend making yourself a jar. You only need 2 ingredients. I will link to my blog post that tells you exactly how to make a sourdough starter. I'll do that in the description below. All right, so for everyone who does have sourdough, we are going to make these muffins that are absolutely incredible. They have the best flavor. I could go on about them, but I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna preheat our oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, and let's jump right in. So the first ingredient I wanna talk about is the sourdough. We're using sourdough discard today. I will do a little test with active sourdough to let you know how that works, though I suspect it would be fine. You need a 1/2 cup or 110 grams of sourdough discard, and you're also going to need a 1/2 cup of melted unsalted butter. So I went ahead, melted my butter, and let it cool a little bit because you don't want this to be too hot. And I'm going to add my sourdough right into the bowl with the butter, all of that. This recipe is great for using up that discard that you don't want to throw out. We're also going to add 3/4 cup or 180 grams of full fat sour cream. You could use a Greek yogurt instead if you wanted to do that. Next, you're going to need 1 large egg. We'll crack this in this bowl right here. We'll add this in. And a teaspoon of vanilla extract. That should be all of our wet ingredients for this recipe. We're going to whisk them together until everything's nicely combined. And once this is nice and smooth, we're going to slide this out of the way, grab a separate bowl for your dry ingredients. I have 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour right here. And now I'm going to be adding some sugar, which is technically a wet ingredient, but for today's recipe, we're adding it with the dry ingredients. You'll need 2/3 cup of granulated sugar, 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and then 3/4 teaspoon of table salt. I'll whisk these together. Today's recipe really comes together so fast, like blink and you miss it fast. All right, that's all whisked together. I have my bowls backwards. I usually like to do my wet ingredients in a larger bowl, but I did it backwards today. But I like to add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. Now we are going to fold these ingredients together until the wet and dry ingredients are about 50% combined. So use a spatula for this, use a gentle hand. Anytime you're making something like a muffin or a quick bread, I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear my cat, but she's trying to unalive some chipmunks out there, so she's really upset right now. Anyway, anytime you're working with a quick bread or a muffin, you don't want to overmix or the end result will be dense, dry, and rubbery. So I'm being gentle, definitely not using a whisk or a mixer. And when I'm about halfway combined, I'm going to add my chocolate chips. We're using 1.5 cups of chocolate chips. I like semi-sweet. I like to use a mix of regular sized and mini just because, I don't know, they look prettier that way, but you can really use any chocolate chips you'd like. We'll add them into the bowl and continue to gently fold everything together until the batter is completely incorporated. And this is a stiffer batter, that's normal. So if you're like, this is really thick, it's supposed to be. Okay, so I don't wanna see any pockets of dry flour. I do wanna make sure everything is nice and uniform. See, pocket of dry flour, that's why we do this. All right, that's looking pretty good. So I'm gonna grab my muffin tin. You'll want to use a 12-count muffin tin for today's recipe, but I've only filled 11 of those cavities. And that's because I like my muffins to just be a little bit larger. So you can divide this evenly into 12 muffin tins and get nice 12 muffins. But if you want like nice taller muffins with taller muffin tops, divide it into 11 liners instead, or even 10, honestly. And I just use a large cookie scoop to evenly divide the batter. It's so much neater than the way I grew up doing it, which was with a pair of spoons. I love these muffins. We have made these muffins so many times. I'm truly excited for you to try them. If you don't have sourdough starter, I'm not sure why you're still watching, but I appreciate you. But I do have a bakery style chocolate chip muffin. So that one does not require sourdough starter. We can head over there. Divide that last little bit. This fits perfectly into a 12-count muffin tin. I just want some to be a little taller. Okay, for the finishing touch, we're going to add a little bit of coarse sugar on top of these muffins, just a little bit. And this that I'm using today is it's a coarse confectioner sugar I found on Amazon. I'll try to remember to link to it. I just used it in my chocolate chip banana bread cookies I made too. It's a really fun sugar. It has a very present bakery style crunch to the top of the muffins. All right, so these are going into our 425 degree Fahrenheit oven. We're putting them in the center rack. We're going to bake them on 425 which I think is 220 degrees Celsius, for 8 minutes. That's gonna give them a nice head start, get those muffin tops forming, help the outsides cook nicely. Then we drop the temperature to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. We don't open the oven door, and we let them continue to bake for about 12 minutes longer. To know that they're finished baking, you're going to want to test them with a toothpick. That should come out clean, or preferably with a few moist crumbs. We're gonna let the muffins cool in the muffin tin for like 5 minutes, not much longer than that. And then we're going to carefully remove them to a cooling rack to cool completely. You do wanna remove them from the tins because otherwise they could end up over baking, first of all, but also the muffin liners tend to get soggy. Now, wasn't that easy to do? After you try these, make sure you check out my sourdough chocolate chip cookies, also amazing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Break this open and see how nice and fluffy they look inside. That's a beautiful muffin. I seriously can't wait to hear what you think. These are so good. Is the sourdough. Gosh, saucy. She's very upset about those chipmunks. You're saucy again.